Welcome to the Blooming League of Original Podcasts.
Hello and welcome to Talk Musicals to Me, a fun theatre podcast about musicals and their impact on people. My name is Caroline Sheen and I'm here to quiz some of the leading creatives in the entertainment industry about their relationship with musical theatre and how certain musicals may have influenced their lives in ways you may not even expect. From how they first encountered a musical to musicals they may never even have seen, let's dive in and introduce today's guest to open up and talk musicals to me. On the podcast today, we have an American West End and Broadway actor who is now turning his hand to, well, everything, really. Writing, choreographing, directing, producing, and still dancing, singing, and acting. He is literally a one-man band. The West End went wild for his production of Burlesque last summer, and this year his new show, an original musical called Midnight, is either already open or about to, depending on when you're listening to this podcast. He's a social media legend with incredible YouTube videos and content. And also you may have caught his TV appearances on Drag Race, American Idol, and a personal favourite of mine, The Masked Singer. Why is it so good? Why? I love it. It shouldn't be good, but it's brilliant television. Anyway, here to talk musicals to me today is the iconic Todrick Hall. Todrick, thank you for joining us today. I know you've just finished rehearsals.
Hi, so nice to meet you. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
I'm so excited to talk to you. I think I first came across you when I saw that brilliant video you did, I think probably about, it must be at least 10 years ago, of the Beauty and the Beast opening.
I knew that was going to be the video.
It went wild.
I knew that was going to be the one.
Yeah, it was so good. I loved it. And I was like, who is this guy? And then actually, we have met in person because I think you came to see 9 to 5.
Yes.
Which I was in. And I think you were with lovely Ben, who I played opposite in that. I think you were.
Yes.
And he brought you along, which was brilliant. So it was lovely to meet you then.
Oh my gosh. I loved that show. I saw that show on Broadway, the original company. And I feel like when 9 to 5 got to Broadway, it was sort of like a new thing to be turning movies into musicals.
Yeah.
And I think if that show came to Broadway now, people would appreciate it so much more because the music was so fun, the choreography. I thought it was a brilliant show. So I'm so glad I got to see you in it.
I'm so glad I got to be in it. It was kind of an accident that I ended up in it because somebody had to drop out of opening the show and I ended up in it for like 3 months while they had to heal and get better so they could do the show. And I was like, what is the show? I've heard of it, but I've never listened to it or anything like that. And it's a great show. The script is really funny. It's all taken from the movie. It's the same screenwriter as the movie. It's Dolly Parton music and 3 great roles for women. And so I had an absolute blast. Sorry, I know we're not making this podcast about me. Honestly, let's crack on.
But also, it can be. It absolutely can be. It should be about us. Okay, this is a collaboration.
Okay, it's a collab. That's the word that always gets mentioned on this podcast, collaboration.
Yes.
You heard it here. I think this is the earliest it's been mentioned. So well done.
You're welcome.
10 points to you.
Thank you so much. I'm hoping to get more points as the evening progresses.
So Todrick, let's jump in with my first question, which is, how did you first meet musical theatre? What was the first musical you ever went to see?
Ooh, well, this is a fun question because I think that teachers are some of the most powerful human beings in the world. They have the ability to open kids' eyes up to things that they would have never been introduced to otherwise. And I grew up in a family with like 12 grandsons, and I was a young Black boy in Plainview, Texas. And it was expected for me to be an athlete because both my parents were athletes. And I got moved to this school, and I remember it was an interesting thing because I had a really, really mean teacher at my my first school. And my mom moved me to this really, really nice school in a much better neighborhood. And during one week, she got a letter from my old school saying that I might need to be put in the special education department. And in the same week, I went to a new school and they said, we might want to test your son for the gifted and talented program. So my mom has never gotten rid of those letters because I was having two completely opposing experiences at the same time. The teacher came into the library one day and she crouched down to me and she says, "Hi, Todrick, I'm Pat Carthel." And she was this super Southern gorgeous lady. She tested me for the gifted and talented program. I had 6 squares and they had like little squiggly lines in them. And she said, "I want you to turn all of these into something." And I turned them into Dorothy the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, the Lion, the Wicked Witch, and Glinda. And that's how I got into the gifted and talented program. And that teacher changed my life. I thank her in every playbill and every single bio that I do in my entire career because her husband didn't love going to see musicals. I mean, she had season tickets to see all of the shows. So the first show that she ever took me to was to go see Sound of Music. And I just absolutely loved it. And it changed my life. We went and saw The King and I and tons of musicals after that together. But she was the first person to introduce me to theater. And I got bit by the bug and I never turned back.
Oh, Todrick, what a wonderful woman she sounds like.
She's incredible.
You're talking to the daughter of 2 teachers here. So anytime anyone bigs up teachers, then I'm totally on side.
I love that. You know, I keep in touch with her, just so you know.
That's wonderful. And so sad that you had the other experience in the other school. You know, that's crazy, isn't it?
It's not sad. It was meant to be. It was orchestrated by the universe for me to understand where I could have been and to appreciate where I came from when I got to the next school. It was meant to be that way.
Well, if you're listening to this, Pat, thank you for all you've done because you brought Todrick to the world of musical theatre, and that's amazing.
Yes. I love that.
And so what do you remember about seeing The Sound of Music? What blew you away about it? Where were you? Was it like a local theatre or was it professional? What was it?
I think that specific musical was at the high school in our local town. It was not even a regional or a national tour or anything. It was a very local production. But she also took me to see the Nutcracker. And in both of those experiences, I remember being so much more fascinated than a lot of the other kids that were my age. I just remember being not just excited with what I saw on stage, but the smell of the popcorn at the concession stands and then going into the theater and sitting in the seats. And she taught me all about theater etiquette and what you do and how you stand up when people want to come by. It was like such a learning lesson for me. And I was like, I hope someone needs to sit down late because I can't wait to practice my theater etiquette that she taught me. I was obsessed with the orchestra warming up, all the things that you didn't know. And I'd never seen backdrops fly up into the sky and the smell of, we were so close, we could smell the fog machines. And I just was so fascinated by the entire thing. And I went to go see that same production like 3 times because I couldn't believe they could reenact those scenes every single day. And it felt so real. And I was really obsessed even at like 7 years old with the fact that it was live, you know, and that there were kids in it. And that's not even a show that has much spectacle attached to it. There was no choreography. And so I think that was the standard. And then I started seeing shows that were bigger, you know, like Phantom of the Opera, or then like little shows like Forever Plaid came to town and that show stole my heart away. And it was only 4 people and it was so simple. And I started to understand like the range of what theater could be and how it could sweep you away and how it could be a comedy or make you cry. And when I say I have an obsessive personality, like I started to decorate my entire room in musical theater and wanted to know so much about it.
That sounds very familiar. If you'd have seen my bedroom, I think you'd have liked it. You couldn't see the wall for musical theatre posters and everything. I was very much the same.
Caroline, that's the only way to do it. Just cover up the entire wall. Who needs a white wall, you know?
Exactly. You couldn't see. What I think is really interesting, everything you picked out there about how special you found that experience was everything that, I guess, apart from the smell of the popcorn, everything that makes going to the theatre different from going to the cinema. You know, the smell of the fog and the orchestra warming up and the fact that you go back every day. It's a different performance, but they're still doing the same thing. It's everything that makes it live. And I think so many people go to the cinema. It is a different experience. You're still sitting in the room experiencing something together with the audience, but that live storytelling from the stage is so special and electric. And I'm so pleased it grabbed you and it made you who you are today. So my next question, Todrick, is what was the first musical you were personally involved with?
Oh, the first musical I was ever involved with. Well, that same teacher had us write a musical in our small town. The movie Leap of Faith came into town, and we were having like an Easter show, and they made us write a musical. I mean, which I haven't really thought about how much this is like paralleled with my actual adult life because I started writing music at such a young age. But we did an Easter version of Leap of Faith called Hop of Hope, and we all had to write songs and perform in them. But I would say the first time I was in like a legit musical was probably in high school. I was in the ensemble of the same show, Sound of Music. I can't think of a time I was in a musical before that, but that was probably problematic. I was in the ensemble and we had to like, I was a Black Nazi member at the show. And I'm like, this is probably not appropriate.
There probably weren't many of them, were there, in reality?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so, Caroline. But I was in that show in high school, and I was in the ensemble of the show, and it was still such like a fun, enriching experience because that was my first time getting to see what it's like to be a part of a cast, that theater summer camp feeling, and like having little crushes, like your first theater high school crush and things like that. It was
Oh, isn't it the best?
That's when I realized I knew I loved musical theater, but that was the moment where I got bit by the second part of the theater bug that lets you know that that's what you're meant to do.
Yeah. It's so wonderful, isn't it? Having that experience with other people the same age as you. You're all doing the same thing in the day, and then you're doing that at night, and you're doing your rehearsals. And it's just, it makes me sort of want to go back to high school. But then actually so many other things make me not want to go back there. But and it's really interesting that that's the Sound of Music as well, because Sound of Music isn't known for being a great show for the ensemble. There's not a huge amount to do. Like there's no big songs or anything. It's sort of the kids hold that together. But lovely that you had, even though you didn't have a huge amount to do on stage, you had that great experience just being involved with it and performing on stage.
I did. It was game changing. And, I had nothing else to compare it to. So
Yeah.
I didn't know that there were versions of musicals that I could be in as a dancer and the ensemble. It was all I knew. So I was just really excited to learn the music. And it was such a full circle experience considering that was my first musical to see.
Yeah. And so then did you kind of go and train and learn more dancing and performing skills?
Well, I had a very interesting experience with musical theater because I never did like community theater or regional theater. I was a dancer first. I stuck with dance even though I loved theater. I didn't have opportunities. There were no local regional theaters or community theaters, definitely no like amateur or professional ones. So I didn't have experiences doing that. I kind of was training all of my skill sets separately. So I sang in the church choir every Sunday. My mom would never let me miss a Sunday. So I was getting my, huge air quotations vocal training from church.
Yeah.
Then I was going to ballet. I was a ballet dancer and I was there 6 days a week usually.
Wow.
So that's where I got my dance training. And then when I got to high school, I had a crush on this guy who was like a junior when I was a freshman, and he was on the varsity cheerleading squad. And so I decided I wanted to become a cheerleader, but just because I wanted to be closer to him.
Yeah.
And so I learned how to tumble and I started learning how to do backflips. And my stepdad had taught me sort of like street tumbling. So it ended up being that all those skill sets sort of like worked together because when I started doing theater, they always wanted people who could tumble and people who could sing. And oftentimes they wanted people who were soulful singers. And that's all I knew how to do. And then, I had training so I could dance. Funny enough, I couldn't do anything that required any sort of swag or anything cool. Like I could only dance, just like a prim and proper ballerina, like my back so standing up straight and feet turned out.
Wow.
And so I had to learn how to sort of do I guess what they would call like musical theater jazz. Yeah, like I had to learn how to do more commercial choreography. So I got a job at Six Flags Over Texas. And that's how I learned how to like have a little bit of swag and be like cool at all because I had nothing at all. It was just giving Nutcracker and Swan Lake Capella every single day. It was the only dancing I could do.
Straight back. And
yes.
Yeah. It's all very held, isn't it, ballet? It's beautiful, but you need to loosen up to do a lot of the other stuff as well, don't you?
Yes.
Oh, fabulous. And so my next question, Todrick, discounting the musicals you've been in and been involved in, is there a musical out there that you have seen the most?
Oh, Wicked, for sure.
Ah, Wicked. Yes, come on.
Yes. I'm the biggest Wizard of Oz fan. It's been my favorite movie since I was a child. And then I read all of the L. Frank Baum books. I have a Wizard of Oz sleeve tattoo on my right arm. The back of my neck says Made in Oz. And this is a fun fact that your followers will appreciate. I actually own Kristen Chenoweth and Idina Menzel's costumes from the original company of Wicked.
You what? Hang on.
I know.
What? How? That's amazing.
It's a crazy story. Yes, I own those costumes. So I'm the biggest fan of Wicked. I've probably seen it, I think, 40, 45 times. Since it opened, obviously, I started watching it in 2003. So it's been like 20 plus years of me watching that show. But I'm a massive fan.
Gosh, it must have blown your mind because The Wizard of Oz and everything, I love that. But I was a kind of Mary Poppins girl. That's what I loved growing up.
Oh, we love Mary Poppins.
But then to be that infatuated with The Wizard of Oz and to then go and see Wicked for the first time, that must have been incredible, actually, to see these characters that you think you know in such a hugely different light. I think because now it's been around for 20 odd years, I sort of take it for granted, really. But that first experience, I remember listening to it for the first time and hearing the little kind of Easter eggs with, you know, Over the Rainbow being part of Elphaba's song and things like that. And it's that whole brilliant way that they bring it out and yet it's still its own thing. How did that feel when you were sitting there watching?
Well, I mean, it was life-changing. I just remember getting full body chills when the orchestra started playing again. And I was very poor. I went to New York City just on a wing and a prayer. And I was like, I'm going to win the lottery. And I put my name in the hat. I won the lottery and I sat down on the front row. And at that time, you know, I love Idina Menzel and the Wicked Witch, but I am such a girly girl. Like I love a petticoat. I love a hoop skirt. I love pink. So I was so excited about getting to see Glinda. And when I went to the show, I saw Megan Hilty and Shoshana Bean. So it was a very iconic cast. But I was just so excited to see Glinda. And when Shoshana Bean came out, I was mind blown. It was a very similar experience to the first time I heard Mariah Carey sing. I remember that so vividly, listening to her sing Dream Lover in a hot air balloon. And so I watched Shoshana Bean and I just was like so blown away to like hear it live. And Wicked is not like Hamilton where you can press play and listen from beginning to end. And even if you're in the middle of Iowa somewhere or, you know, the backwoods of Texas, you can kind of gather what the story is because it's sung through or rapped through in Hamilton's case. But in this case, you know, I didn't know what so much of the show meant. And this was before the slime tutorial era where you could just find some way to watch Wicked online if you had never seen it on Broadway. So I did not know what it was going to look like. I had only seen trailers and I was so blown away to see how the pieces came together and how all of the things that I had imagined it to look like, it exceeded all my expectations. And I just absolutely loved it. It blew me away. I'll never forget that night. When he called my name that I won the lottery, I ran to the guy, the poor man. I jumped on him and wrapped my legs around him like a koala bear. And all of the people that were there, they were like screaming and clapping for me because they could just, a lot of them were probably like, okay, girl, I did not want it that bad. So I'm glad you got it. I was like, couldn't believe it. So I was blown away and it's a core memory for me.
I'm so happy for you that happened. And you have an album, right, about The Wizard of Oz. Is that?
Yes.
Am I right in saying
Yeah, it's called Straight Outta Oz.
And is that all inspired by The Wizard of Oz, Wicked? What's the story behind all that? I
was a YouTuber and my brand was very different than other people's. And I felt like I only played characters on my channel. So when I would meet people, they'd be like, oh, I had no idea you were from Texas. I had no idea that you sang in church. I was so shy to like get online. I have severe ADHD and tend to ramble a lot. So I didn't want to like have, you know, videos where it was just me vlogging to the camera. And so I just thought maybe it would be a cool idea to do a visual album. I was inspired by Beyonce's visual album that she did. And I said, I would love to like put an album out that kind of told people a little bit about my life and paralleled with my favorite story in the world. And I thought about so many similarities between my character and Dorothy. And maybe that's the reason why I resonated with the story so much. And so I wrote the album and I was going through a massive Troye Sivan era at that point. So I was listening to all of his songs like Wild and Blue Neighborhood, and a lot of his songs inspired that album. And I have a really eclectic musical taste. So I love rock just as much as I love gospel. I love comedic musical theater. I love, you know, like I love a beautiful ballad salad. So I wanted it to be like a smorgasbord of like every type of genre of music that I loved. To this day, it's my favorite album, and it turns 10 years old this year. So a tour might be coming. So keep your ears peeled.
Ooh. Is that a scoop? Is that a scoop for the podcast?
It might be a scoop for the podcast, Caroline.
Ooh, thank you very much. Thank you. I love it. I love getting a scoop. What a great tale. I am going to go and find that. I'm really sorry that I haven't seen it, but I have been bringing up a child in those 10 years. So that is my excuse and I'm sticking to it.
Oh, that's my dream. That's my dream to have a child. How many kids do you have?
Just the one.
Oh, Caroline, I'm so jealous.
Just the one. And it's all encompassing and fabulous, but yeah, it stops me from listening to your album. I'm sorry, but
it's okay.
I will get around to it.
Yeah, take your time.
Todrick, my next question is, which musical has made you laugh the most and which has made you cry the most?
Okay, I would say the musical that has made me laugh the most. I would say that my first choice, I was going to say, was Book of Mormon, which is probably the show I've seen the second most amount of times. I love that show, and I just think that structurally, the way that it is structured is incredible. The team that wrote that show and Casey Nicholaw for directing it, they were just like really cooking with some sizzling grease when they made that show. But I would say that my favorite show is probably Something Rotten, like the show that I laughed the most in, because it was like, Book of Mormon is like a specific type of humor, but Something Rotten really spoke to my sensibility, and I loved all of the humor that you would only get if you were a massive musical theater fan. So I love that show, and it's coming to London soon. So if people who are listening haven't seen it,
I can't wait.
Oh, it's just one of my favorite shows. I would say that's in my top 5. I saw that show 19 times on Broadway. I'm a repeat offender. If I like a show, I see it a ton of times, and I just think it's so great. The opening number just immediately sweeps you away. There are just like 6 numbers in that show that I'm like, this is what musical theater is all about. So yeah, that's the show that's made me laugh the most. And I would say the show that has made me cry the most, I know I'm not supposed to say 2 shows again, but my first answer would be The Color Purple. That was the show that I made my Broadway debut with.
Oh, wow.
And I have had a very interesting relationship with Blackness, because I think that sometimes the Black community expects for Black men and Black people in general to show up in a certain way. And it was always looked at that it was strange, that not just that I did ballet, but that my mother allowed me to do ballet and that I was so different. And it was very, very confusing because I never felt like I really fit in with the white kids at my school or the Hispanic kids in my school. And I didn't feel like the Black kids understood me either. But Color Purple was the first time I walked into a show and was like sticking my chest out and thought to myself, I am so proud to be Black. And only a cast of beautiful Black people would have been able to tell that story and sing that score and dance that choreography like that. It was one of those moments where I just got full body chills, and I just remember being like, I am so proud of every drop of melanin in my body. And that was another core memory. So that story is so heart-wrenching. And I got to see Fantasia, who I was a big fan of when she was on American Idol. So that, but the other one that I will quickly say is Benjamin Button. That was my latest obsession. And I loved The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. I saw it 10 times. Every time I saw it, I sobbed. It was just such a glorious experience and so well crafted and beautiful storytelling, and just the humanity that it has. It breaks my heart every day. I live around the corner from it and I walk by and I'm like, oh, Paranormal Activity. What's the world coming to?
Go away. Come back, Benjamin.
Yeah.
Come back.
We love you, Benjamin.
I had the producer of Benjamin Button on the show earlier on, and it was literally the day after that they won the Olivier, and we were talking to him and he's talking about the plans for it and everything. And recently there's been a lot in the press about how Broadway this year, the new musicals are few and far between, so there's not a huge amount of competition for the Tonys. And I messaged him and I was like, get it over there, get it open. And he's like, oh, we can't get it over there quick enough. But I think there are plans for it to be in the States at some point in the next couple of years, so American listeners, you will get to see it. But it is a beautiful, beautiful show.
Stunning.
And that's fascinating what you say about The Color Purple, because I wonder if a lot of people in that room with you had that similar experience, like you say, how they didn't feel like they necessarily fitted in, and yet you walk into a room full of people who you share that experience with, and like you say, who are proud and have struggled to get there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I never really was able to articulate how I felt about being a part of the show, but I just know it was was a life-changing chapter for me. And yeah, I Great Gatsby's in that theater now, and sometimes I go see the show, and my friends are like, "Come back!" And every time I walk in the stage, I get chills because I just remember going to my first rehearsal and thinking, "Oh, I'm gonna be in the studio, and they'll let me get on the stage, like 5 days before I go on or something, maybe." And the first day we had rehearsal on stage, and I just remember walking onto the stage, and they were like, "Okay, so you're gonna start here," and I was like, "Wait, I'm sorry, I have to take this in." I like got on the ground and was like rubbing the ground and was like, "This is so cool that I'm on a Broadway stage." My imposter syndrome was through the roof. I couldn't believe that this like little Black kid from Plainview, Texas was like going to be making his Broadway debut. It was just everything to me. So yeah, I love that. And I can't wait for the day that I'm able to give people their Broadway debut and give them that experience as well.
Yeah, because that's where you're heading, right? That's so exciting. But the most important question about that production of The Color Purple is, did you get to meet Oprah?
Yes, I did.
Because
I did.
she was the producer, right?
She was.
She was like one of the major people behind it.
She was the producer. She was incredible. And I waited forever. I bought programs because I knew she was coming. And when she came, I got to meet her, and she wrote a lovely letter to me and one to my mom. And we have it framed in our home. And it was so incredible. You watch movies and you see people living their dreams, and you don't think that's going to ever happen to you. It doesn't even feel like fathomable. I wasn't sad that I didn't think it would ever happen for me, because I just had never known someone who had ever even moved to New York, let alone been on a Broadway stage. And, I went to that audition on a whim, hoping I would get it, but I flew there just for that audition. And nobody gets the first Broadway show they audition for. That never happens for people. But I believe that it was like perfectly orchestrated for me to be there at that place in that room with those people on that day. Yeah, all of those things were just mind boggling. I got to meet so many incredible celebrities, and not just people who had verified checks. And that's always cool, but they were people that I really loved and respected. It was Black excellence to the max. I mean, Tyra Banks, Tyler Perry, Eartha Kitt. I got to meet Patti LaBelle. I worked with Shaka Khan, Fantasia herself, I
Wow.
got to meet Jamie Foxx. And it was just like legendary people, Spike Lee. It was just phenomenal people coming to the show. And, I got to eventually work with a lot of those people, like the Wayne Bradys and Jordan Sparks of the world. I became friends with them later. So I wish I could transport back there and just soak up some of that energy, because nothing will ever be the same. It's like the first time you fall in love. Your Broadway debut is something you'll never, ever, ever forget. And that was just,
It's nice to try and tap back into that feeling, isn't it, every now and then, especially if you're like super stressed about a job or something. You go, no, remember how it feels when it's new and fresh and exciting. That's what you've got. Remember that person.
yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's fabulous.
And remember how many people would die for that opportunity. You have to remind yourself that, because we can get so complacent. And sometimes as actors, we can get a little bit over it. And there's jaded people. And if there's a lot of jaded people in a cast, they can bring the morale of the cast down. But
Yeah.
we get to dress up and play characters and tell stories and sing songs and do dances as a career. That is a blessing. And life is so short. If you can bring some happiness to people, provide a level of escapism, and tell incredible stories and get paid to do it, I mean, that's the dream right there. So I never lose sight of that. I'm never like, oh, I don't want to perform today. I have a really good friend named Billy. When we'd be in a cast, people would be like, oh, I have to do 2 shows today. And she was always like, I get to do 2 shows today. So now anytime I'm in a show, I'm like, I get to do 2 shows today. I get to do, I want us to always change that sentence from being like, I have to do 2, I get to do 2 shows today.
Oh, absolutely. What I love about hearing all these stories is that this love for theatre is really kind of strong with you, and that you go and see it and you support it. I just love that you love being as much of an audience member as much as you love performing. It seems to me like
Oh, I do.
that experience of sitting in an audience and watching something and then going, that was amazing, I want to see it again. But my next question is going to expose something in that.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
I have never seen a professional production of West Side Story.
Okay.
And is there any musical out there that you regret not seeing?
I think that when I was younger, like I didn't have a lot of money and it was always so expensive to go see shows. So if I liked something, I would chase that high again. Like I kept seeing Hairspray over and over and over and over again. And there are definitely shows, I mean, I saw Hello Dolly with Bette Midler, but one of my favorite Broadway performers is Bernadette Peters. And I've only got to see her in Old Friends. I've never gotten to see her in a musical. So I wish I had gone back to see the show and see her in it.
Yeah.
There are people that I'm like, oh, I would have loved to have seen that person in this. Like, I would have loved to have seen Audrey McDonald. I've only ever seen her in Gypsy. I've never seen her in any of the other shows she's been in. So it's mostly that. And if I didn't know what a show was, I wouldn't go see it. But like, I had the opportunity to see Producers when I was in New York, and I didn't go see it because I didn't know what it was. And Peter and the Starcatcher, everyone said that was just like magnificent creative theater. And I didn't see that show, and I was in New York, and I could have seen it, and I didn't. But those are probably the only two or three.
I think that's the first mention of Peter and the Starcatcher, actually. And we've actually had Tom Schumacher on the show. Can't remember if you mentioned it or not. But yeah, I remember hearing how beautiful that show was. And I feel like we need a revival of it. Maybe we need to talk to some people and get that to happen so then we can make sure we see it.
Yeah, I agree.
We'll pull some springs.
Exactly.
Pull some springs? That's not right. Pull some strings. Let's have a little break so I can put my teeth back in and join us again after some adverts. And we will be back with Act 2. I did just turn 50, yes.
Oh my gosh, happy birthday.
I am old. So, on Talk Musicals to me, I thought I would use this opportunity to support some friends of mine who have small businesses. And I put a message out on my social media to see who would get in touch and to see how I can help them amplify their voices. So, I have a couple of ones that I would like to mention today. So this one is from my friend John Chartres, who runs a small business specialising in accounting for the arts, self-employed actors, musicians and stage management, as well as small production companies. Friendly advice and good value for anyone who wants to get in touch at fresheyesfinance.co.uk. And this is from a dear mummy pal of mine called Lucy McCrudden, who runs a non-profit called Dance Mama, which is dedicated to supporting parents who dance on and off stage. With evidence-based information and support, plus over 80-plus stories, we help parents continue their careers in dance from a physical, mental, creative, and logistical viewpoint. Check out www.dancemama.org to see how they can help you navigate your career as a parent. And finally, Jessica runs something that sounds like great fun, a thing called Showtime Circus, which can be found at Showtime_circus on Instagram. It's a circus school franchise and helps other small business owners franchise or license their business. It's based in Birmingham, but I think there's lots of them around the country. So get online and have a look if you want to learn some circus skills. Hello and welcome back to Act 2 of Talk Musicals to Me with Todrick Hall. Todrick, I'm having such fun finding out all your musical theatre background and inspirations here. And I am hearing fantastic things about Midnight. Tell me about how it's going and what are your hopes and dreams for it?
It is my labor of love, my magnum opus. And as far as I'm concerned, I have loved it so much that my heart is never more full than when I'm in the room doing it. And my friends and I were just raving about how much fun we had rehearsal today. And then we all were like, okay, we don't want to have FOMO. So I came to do this, and we're going to run back into the living room to like talk more about our favorite moments from today's rehearsal. I set out to make a show because I love theater and I'm there every night. And I set out to make the show that I would want to go see. I was like, I want to write my favorite show I've ever seen. And I am in love with Hamilton. I'm in love with Wicked. And I love it so many shows that I was like, well, you're going to have to write one hell of a show, Todrick. And I've just loved writing it and getting insane amounts of feedback and being able to like say, how do I acknowledge all these notes while staying true to myself, and rewriting the show and taking things that I would have never imagined not being in the show, just flipping it on its head, has been so exciting for me. In the beginning, I was very like resistant to it, but then I realized like you have to listen to these things that people are saying to you and be excited about the idea that the show gets the ability to keep transforming and keep evolving. So I've loved it. I've loved it so much. And I've loved the fact that people have loved the show. When they come to the show, they write these beautiful messages on social media and in my DMs, and I can't go to sleep. It's like Christmas morning, and the cast was announced today, and Marisha Wallace was like, I can't go to sleep at night because I'm so excited about coming to work tomorrow.
Oh.
And she was like, I've been in 8 billion musicals. Like, why am I feeling like this? But there's something really special and magical about what's happening in the room when we're rehearsing. And I feel like that permeates into the audience and they're experiencing that. And I hope you get to come see the show. Be my guest.
Oh, yes, please, please, please.
For sure. If you're in town and available, I'd love to give you one of my held seats as the producer of the show.
Thank you so much. I would love that.
Yeah, I would love for you to experience it.
And the cast you've announced, I'm sorry, but that cast is insane.
They're so talented.
I am so excited. Rachel Tucker, George Maguire, Marisha. I'm in awe already of it. It sounds so brilliant.
Thank you.
And how long have you been working on it? When did you sort of go, I'm going to sit down and write this?
Well, I thought of the ideas and started writing songs during the pandemic, but I didn't really start working on it until 2023. Yeah, so it's been 2 to 3 years of like me working on it pretty consistently. And I think it's going to take another year or two before I'm in a place where I'm ready to be on a West End or Broadway stage, but I'm loving it. I've never worked on anything very long. I'm notorious for writing a song today and having it out tomorrow, but it's been exciting. And there have been people along the way that have been like, I think it's ready. People are saying you're ready to go. And I'm like, we're not ready. We're not ready. There's still moments that I don't love it. It's a cake that's got to bake until it's ready. No one wants to eat a cake that's not prepared.
Not cooked. It's got to be cooked.
Yeah, well, you don't want it to be soggy in the middle, honey.
So this is like a 4-week run. Am I right in thinking?
It's 2.5 weeks.
Oh, 2.5 weeks. Oh, sorry. That's my really bad maths there. Sorry.
No, it starts February 20th and ends March 8th.
Oh, fabulous.
Yeah.
My next question, seeing as earlier on we were talking about how fabulous teachers can be, which musical, if you were a teacher, would you put on the school curriculum? What would you choose to do in school?
I immediately started thinking of Seussical because I just love that show and I think it has great music in it. But I don't know, like when you say curriculum, that makes me feel like it should be something that's teaching you something, which makes me feel like maybe something historical would be great. And I think they're going to release the rights to Hamilton or something soon, I heard.
Ooh.
So I think maybe I would do Hamilton.
I mean, that would kill a lot of birds with one stone, isn't it? They would learn a lot about their history and about music and about drama and about rhythm. And yeah, who needs to go to school? Just do Hamilton and you learn every life skill you need, right?
Exactly.
It's almost mathematical, the rhythms in it, isn't it? So you can do maths.
Yes.
You can do English.
And history. And PE, physical education. That's important. We got to remember that, Caroline.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, Hamilton and maybe Seussical for maybe the younger kids, perhaps.
Yeah.
Great music in Seussical.
Love Seussical.
Hamilton, when it opened, was such a huge thing, wasn't it? Were you out in the States when that happened, or were you over here? Where were you when that was all kicking off?
I was in the States.
Yeah.
Yes.
How was it out there when that all happened? Because over here, we get it kind of secondhand, but it came over really quick. And everyone who was going out to New York was coming back telling us about it. How was it actually being there?
I mean, I wasn't in New York. I was in LA, but I remember the album coming out. And I think one of the smartest things they did with that show, which were very similar to Andrew Lloyd Webber and Jesus Christ Superstar, they put out the Hamilton mixtape and then they started putting out all of the music. And I remember listening to the score. I want to say the score was released kind of soon after the show came out. I could be wrong about that, but I remember listening to the score, and when I was 2 to 3 songs in, I was like, oh, this is going to be huge. It's going to be massive. And then I remember when Helpless and Satisfied came up because, like I told you before, I'm such a princess. I just love when the women come in with the dresses and the petticoats. Once I heard those songs, it was a wrap. I said, okay, I'm in. I have to see it. And I was fortunate enough to get to see the entire original cast of that show. And it was superb.
Was that on Broadway or when it was at the Public?
On Broadway.
Oh, fantastic. That's a special thing, isn't it? I think sometimes especially when it's a show that ends up being so iconic, to have seen the first people to do it, that's really exciting.
Yes.
So my next question, Todrick, you seem like a man who really knows his musicals. Which forgotten musical would you like to see remounted? We sort of talked about that earlier, didn't we? But maybe let's pick a different one.
Well, I don't know if this is forgotten, but I love The Life. And I feel like it came out at a time where people didn't necessarily, maybe appreciate it as much as they could have. So I would love to see The Life because that's a show I always wish that I could have seen, but it was never open when I was, old enough to go to New York and see a show. So I think The Life. I've booked a lot of jobs singing Use What You Got from that show.
Yeah.
And I just think it has incredible music.
Oh, it absolutely does. My old college did it. I lived in the same town that my college was at for a long time, and I went back and saw The Life being done. The students were doing it, and I just remember thinking, this is a great show. And it feels like it didn't last very long. I don't think it ran that long in New York, and it's definitely never been done on the West End stage. I think maybe it's been done off West End in a very small theatre.
I don't know how long it ran, but I think maybe at that time, people weren't as sex positive. It was probably like very conservative people going to the theater. So I just genuinely think that people would appreciate it more. But I don't know much about the show. I just know the score. I've never seen it, but it would be a show I'd love to see.
It's a great show. I think it's a really good show. And I think it opened the same season as Steel Pier. And I'm probably talking absolute nonsense. I'm not going to check. Everyone can Google it when they want to. We'll see. Yeah. The Life. Let's get that remounted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a show I wish I could have seen.
Some musicals are kind of before their time, aren't they?
Yes, they are. I was going to say a show I would have also loved to have seen was Thoroughly Modern Millie because I never saw that show. And I love Gavin Creel and he is one of my favorite Broadway performers. And so I wish that I had been brave enough to go see that show, but it seemed like I wasn't going to be smart enough to get it or something when I was younger. And I was like, I won't go to that. I don't know. That doesn't feel like it would appeal to me.
Yeah.
I wish I would have gone.
It was a good show. I saw it in London. Can't remember who directed it now, but it works brilliantly. That production was really excellent. And I do wish I'd seen it in New York with, Sutton Foster and Gavin and
Shirley Ralph was in that show. I didn't even know that until like 2 years ago.
Yes.
Oh, What We Do for a Time Machine.
Yeah, she accepted an award recently, didn't she? And she went, I want to thank me because I've worked really hard for it. And I was like, what a great thing to do at an award ceremony. Yeah. Thank everybody, but also I want to thank me for just giving it a go and making good, brilliant. So, Todrick, I always love asking people this question. Is there any musical which inspired you to make a strong choice in your life?
A musical that inspired me to make a strong choice in my life? I can't think of anything that would match that, to be honest. A strong choice in my life?
Or did you go and see a musical and come out of it going, I'm going to live my life differently after seeing that with my head held higher? Or, did anything sort of move you to kind of feel differently about the world?
I have to be honest, I think that's why I'm writing the show that I'm writing, because I think that that's something that I crave after that show. And I think that my musical that I'm writing right now does exactly that. So maybe there are musicals, but right now the only thing that comes to mind is the show that I'm writing. And I'm writing it because of that, because I feel like we as a culture have just been more divided now than we have ever been. And I was like, I would love to do something to bring people together, to make people remember that we have a short time on this planet and we're so much better together than we are separated. And, oftentimes we divide ourselves by what's different. But if you take a moment and look at someone and get to know them, oftentimes you'll see that you're so much more similar. There have been people that I'm like, I can't stand this person. And the phones and technology and social media has kind of, in a lot of ways, obviously helped us as humans be able to find out information and contact each other. But it makes everyone so scared to just have a confrontation and to be able to speak to someone and work out your differences. And almost any time you get someone on the phone or see them in person, you go there with a desire to make things right. You always do, And so I have been definitely moved to tears and blown away and inspired to be a better performer, to write music and to keep dancing. But nothing has made me be like, I'm going to live my life differently because I saw this show. Wait, let me take that back. I think Benjamin Button does that because what I loved about Elowin in that show is that, at the end of the show, when she knows that she doesn't have long to live, spoiler alert, but also people should have seen the show. He says, how much time do we have? And she says, does it matter? We still have time. And I love that she always looked at her glasses half full and didn't think about the little time she had, but how beautiful it is that there is still more time. And that is something we always think about how much we're aging. And, in 10 years, we're all going to look back and wish we were at the age that we are now if we're blessed enough to live another 10 years. So like the people who are winning in life are the people who wake up every day and who are grateful for where they are now and the people who choose to be around them now. And, I think that that's like the key to having a great life, waking up and just making a conscious choice to be happy, to be grateful that you're alive, that you're healthy, that you're well, and that you can exist. And so I've been really trying to do that a lot. And when I was watching Benjamin Button, I started watching it every week because I was going through a breakup that was heart-wrenching for me. And it was a place for me to be able to get my feelings out. But I just love that show and I love that mentality and that way of looking at the world.
Yeah. And a big shout out to Claire Foster, who was Elowin.
Oh, Claire.
And she was incredible. My dear pal, thank you, Claire, for being so beautiful in that part and for inspiring Todrick to think that way about life.
Yes.
It is so true, isn't it? To take each day as it comes and just be glad for what you have, because who knows what's coming around the corner, right? Who knows? So my next question, what do you think is the secret to a good musical?
I think the secret to a good musical is great music. I think that there are a few things, but I think that if you have incredible music, people will sometimes forgive the book. I mean, I think to a great musical, you need all of those components, but I think a character and characters that people care about, that people can invest in. You can have great music and it can be beautifully directed, but if there are no stakes and if your character doesn't go through something and you don't give people someone to root for and to care that they live or die or that they get the love that they wanted or that they saved their kingdom or whatever the case may be, then you just lose people. I've seen a lot of shows recently that I'm like, this is fine, but I don't care. Then beyond that, it's just got to be great music. We want to hear songs. We want to leave the theater singing and dancing. We want to download the soundtrack and to stream it on Spotify. Like if you don't feel those things when you leave the theater, if you're not like, oh, how can I get this cast recording? Then I don't think that the musical has been done correctly.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Like I said, in the break, I went to see Ragtime. When we came out, I was like, I need to hear that again. And literally about 2 days later, they dropped the cast album. So I was thrilled. I was like, yes, thank you very much. I can continue to enjoy that show at home. Todrick, when did the sort of germ of an idea come that you were like, I enjoy being in these shows and I'm having a brilliant time being in Colour Purple and all the other shows you've done? When did you sort of go, I could write one of these? Do you remember that thought happening in your head?
I do. And funnily enough, it's an interesting story, but the quick version of the story is I got to school when I was in high school and I was like, I want to put on a musical. And I rented out the theater and the teacher was like, I feel like this is disrespectful that you are coming in and disrupting the system. Like you should be asking us for permission. You should be auditioning for our musicals. And now kids are saying they can't audition for our musical because they're in your show. And I can totally understand why she was annoyed with me at that time. But she ended up calling Tams Whitmark, who owned the rights to The Wizard of Oz, which is a show I was trying to produce. They sent me a cease and desist and I was 16 years old and I was losing my mind. I'd spent all this money on these costumes and things.
Oh my God.
And so my mom came to me and she was like, you're not going to let her win. I was like, there's nothing you can do. I'm going to get sued if I do this. And she was like, well, maybe there's a way you can just write your own musical. And I was like, Mom, get out of my room. Like, that's a horrible idea. Write my own musical. And then I started thinking and we looked it up on the internet, our dial-up internet at the time. And we found out that The Wizard of Oz was in public domain. So I had to change this shoes from red to silver and take everything back based on the L. Frank Baum story. But I went from telling everybody in the cast our show was canceled to being like, wait, we're going to do it, but we're going to have to start all the way over from scratch. But who's with me? And it ended up, the kids loved it. And we all got back and we worked really, really hard. And I wrote my first songs and I came in, I was shaking in my boots, like being like, I don't know if this is good, but this is my version of, where Somewhere Over the Rainbow would be. And we ended up writing a musical and it was so much fun. We made it modern. And so I started writing musicals long before I was ever on Broadway.
Oh, wow.
It was always something that I wanted wanted to do. It was not a new idea. And I wrote all of the, anything that was original on my YouTube channel where I made over 700 videos. So it was always something I knew I would get back to someday. And when I was signed to Scooter Braun, who was Justin Bieber's manager, that's what he would always say to me. So I think I was resistant to it because I hated that he'd be like, I know that you want to make music, but you should be writing musicals. That's what you should do. I was like, why does everyone want me to do that? Like, that's not me reaching my full potential. I was so resistant to it only because that's what he wanted me to do. And when I started writing this musical and people started coming saying like, this is what you were meant to do. This is your best work. I sort of rolled my eyes and was like, I don't ever want Scooter to see this show because he's going to say, I told you so, and like, I'm so stubborn that I don't want to admit that he might have been right about that one thing,
I know we were sort of saying earlier, teachers, good and bad, have put you where you are. And the fact that that teacher did that is just like 16 years old. And it just felt like that feels like sour grapes. But look what you did. You turned sour grapes into champagne by the sounds of it and made a big hit out of it.
I have to say really quickly, because I can't leave this unsaid, that teacher was 22 or 23 years old, and she was very young, had just gotten out of college and was new. And when I was in Chicago on Broadway, she came with her students and was at the stage door. And I walked out and she said, hi, Todrick, I don't know if you remember me. And I was like, and I said her name and I was like, there's no way I could ever forget you. And she apologized to me and she was like, I just want to say that like I was a teacher and I was new and I felt like I had so much to prove. And rather than thinking that you were stepping on my toes, I should have tried to be a teacher and help you. And so watching where you've gone, I would have never thought that you were that serious about performing. And I was like, that was my job, to nurture him. And so now my kids write their own musicals and I help them do shows. And I always tell them the story of how you made it happen. And I was so resistant. I put so many roadblocks in your way. And she was like, things you didn't even know about, by like not letting you use the lighting grid and stuff like that. And she was like, you were not having any of it. You just kept pushing through. You kept making it happen. You kept finding a way. She was like, it was really honestly amazing to watch. And after I saw your show, I was like, he's going places and I should have been involved in this as opposed to being resistant to it. So she did come around and it made it easier for kids that came after me. So there was a silver lining to that story. And I think sometimes when you're young, you forget that teachers are just humans too. And they're so young. To me, I was like, she's an adult, but she was 22 or 23. I mean, she just graduated from college.
She's like 6 years older than you.
Yeah, like she's a child herself. And she's like, I planned on being a teacher and this is not how I expected it to be. So anyway, I just have to give her some love because I forgot to tell the end of that story. And I think that is a really great silver lining to that story.
Yeah, I love that. Absolutely. I had a teacher in school. She was the head of sixth form. And it was when we were all doing our A levels and everybody applies for colleges and universities. And I wasn't applying for them because I knew I was going to go to drama college. And, I was the head girl of the school and they were like, but you need to go to university and you need to go to college. I was like, well, I'm going to get a degree. It's just going to be at this drama college and I don't have to apply through this. And she was really, quite disappointed. And are you serious about this? Do you really want, it's a very, very difficult life, and really, really tried to talk me out of it. And she sent me a letter about 2 weeks after my West End debut going, I'm so glad I didn't talk you out of it. I'm really proud of what you've achieved. And I get it, it's a difficult life. And I don't know that I would encourage people to do it. I love it. But if you don't love it as much as we do, don't do it because it's really hard. You've got to be so much in love with it that you can take all the hard stuff as well. And so there you go. That's my lesson to the listeners.
I love that.
Today. Now, this is sort of my rule breaker question in which you can pick one of your own musicals here. And it is, which musical feeds your soul? Which do you go to if you're having like a bad day? Which do you go, I'm going to put this musical on today, or I'm going to remember going to see that, or I'm going to go and see this one to make myself feel better? Is there a musical that you would pick?
I think right now I would say, I'm going to do honorary mention because they just announced Hell's Kitchen was closing. But when I was recently in New York, I was like, I'm going to go back and see that because I loved how authentic musically like urban and contemporary that show was. It didn't feel like they were like, we're going to try to do something cool. The characters spoke in the way that they actually would if they were living in Hell's Kitchen. And I just thought that the vocalists in that show were unmatched. And watching Shoshana Bean and then Jessica Vosk and then Kelsey played that role of the mom that sing was just so massive. And it was just such a great show. And I cry at it every time, even though it's a very joyful show. But that relationship between a mother and her daughter, like, is something that very much so resembles my mom and I's relationship, where it's been really tumultuous. And then, but at the end of the day, we love each other so much and we come out of it. And yeah, so I think that is probably the show, other than the show I already mentioned, Benjamin Button, which was, I can't sing its praises enough.
Oh, I love how much you love Benjamin Button.
Oh, I love it.
If you haven't heard it, guys, they did a cast album. It's a small show. And I think quite a lot of the time we get taken in by the kind of big, brash, spectacular shows that, you know, can be put on Broadway and in the West End. And sometimes it doesn't need to be that, does it? It can just be full of heart and hope and lovely things, and it will get to you.
Yeah.
Oh, well, Todrick, I wish you so much love and luck. I just think the passion behind what you do is going to make this work, because I've said this on many an episode. If you love it and if you have the drive to make something for the right reasons, I'm really excited to see the show after everything I've heard about it. And I'm really excited to meet you again. And that's what I'm going to do. So I'm really excited.
Let's make it happen.
I am, hang on, I am rambling. See, it's because I don't want to say goodbye to you, Todrick.
Oh, well, it's just ta-ta for now. And now you have my number, so
Yes.
you can call me anytime you like.
This has been so fun to talk to you and hear all about Plainview, Texas, and your teachers and your journey to today. Thank you so much for sharing it with us.
Thank you, and congratulations.
Thank you.
You're amazing. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Take care. And good luck with the show.
Bye to you both. Bye, Erin.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much for listening today. This has been Talk Musicals to Me for the Bloop Network. My fabulous producer is Aaron Ware, and the music you heard is from the pen of the sublime Tom Self. If you get a moment, please subscribe or follow and rate the podcast by clicking the stars below on the podcast page. It takes about 2 seconds to do, and it will really help the podcast and its future life, and would make us massively, eternally, enormously grateful. In the meantime, another huge thanks for tuning in, and please do so again next time to see who will be next up to talk musicals to me.